has a couple acres of cedar trees. When I first moved here, I saw a bear and a cub walking down my couple 1,000-foot driveway. Then after that, I never saw them again. Occasionally, we see deer, but not like it used to be. 20 years ago, it was a lot of deer around here because there was trees. So my feeling is, if you go, like some of these people go looking for Bigfoot, right? They'll go into like a entrance of a park or go up to North Bend, a Tiger Mountain, and then walk in a mile or two. You know what? I hate to say it. I think they're smart enough. Right? They're trying to get away from humans. So they're going to be way out where, you run across one, maybe accidentally. But, the odds are running into one, unless you're going way, way out, you're not going to do it. And this like this one TV show, and I do have somebody chatting, or not chatting because I haven't answered, but they're basically saying, I don't know what I'm talking about, Bigfoot. Well, again, I'm going to stress this, okay? Unless you've physically seen one, okay, you can speculate all you want. After you've seen one, then you have a different idea, I don't know, like in my case, my feeling, honestly, if we wouldn't have took off running, I feel strongly that maybe we walked into its territory. Maybe it was protecting its family. Maybe it was a group of them. Because I don't even know if it was the exact same one that was by the car. It could have had a mate or, a friend or whatever. Because, right. I mean, we took off running, as fast as we could run. And it was there when we got to the car. So I after talking to somebody else, I kind of came to a conclusion it could have been two of them. So, right. I don't know, but I just have, I only can go by my gut feeling. Okay. If me and my friend wouldn't have took off running, I don't think we would have came out alive. That's just my feeling, because everything it pointed at us, it was aggressive. Now, when I have talked to other people, it said that, a Bigfoot walked right past them and ignored him. Well, maybe that's possible. I don't know. Just like, me and you are different. Maybe the circumstances are different. I don't know. All I know is what I myself seen. And then, like I said, I have taken initiate enough where I went and talked to the local Indian tribes here, and smoked a little bit with them. Their refreshment.
That you do.
Yeah, and they explained some of the stories, and their stories was that basically they were never friendly. So I mean, so I don't know what you can believe. Okay. I know that there's something out there. That's all I know. That's all I can say. There's something out there. I can't. Is it a Bigfoot? Well, I from my definition, okay, it's like if you see a UFO, right? It's unidentified to for a fact what it is. Was a man dressed in an ape suit? No, I don't think so. That's all I can say. I'm not going to lie. I have no reason to lie. Like I said, for many years, I didn't even tell anybody my story, till I started doing the show again.
Well, I think I have to say to that, that person that would say that, that's kind of not a kind thing to say, because how is your experience any worth less than anybody else's experience? I guess that's it. I mean, whether I've never, to be honest with you, I've never had that kind of reaction where something's chased me like that. Now, have I felt like in the past that they were circling around me, and so that was very intimidating and everything like that. So, but who? How can you? That's again. This is the thing with Bigfoot, and this is one of the things that's kind of an interesting thing about it is that people can't sort of differentiate other people's stories. Your story is your story. It's sort of like everything else. As a friend of mine, and she posted something a while ago, and it said, there's the real you, and then everybody who meets you, there's another different version of you they keep in your head. And so, I mean, that's basically the way it is. You've been in the scenario where you've been in a high stress environment, and if the other person had to tell his story, 99% of that would be the same, but there's always going to be some different thing, or I observed this, or I observed that. It's sort of like the old idea of, if you walk into a bank and rob a bank,
each witness is going to they're going to have a little bit different story.
Yeah, and so the aggregate is what matters, and so that's one of those things where to say that if you saw something that was completely biological and you didn't feel like it had any other characteristics to it, it didn't disappear into the side of the mountain, it didn't vanish, it didn't do this, a lot of different things that a lot of people report happening, it didn't go into a UFO, didn't do these different types of things, well then, and it's aggressive like that, you have to say, from your standpoint, if you're not a paranormal person and you see that, you say that's an animal and that's all it ever is. I mean, but then at the other hand, then you have to say that So this is the thing where, I always say just tell your story whenever it comes to Bigfoot, because you know what, to a skeptic, it doesn't matter if you saw an ape, it doesn't matter if you saw something vanish into the midnight sky. You're crazy.
Yeah,
there's no definition of how crazy you are.
Well, hey, now I'm going to change. I'm going to change the subject just a little bit because we got a little time.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I managed a business, and I've talked about this numerous times on the show, in Tacoma. Yeah. Okay, the building was built in the 1870s, 1880s, right around there. It was originally a hotel. It had like maybe 13 stories or 12 stories, but in the 60s, they cut it down to like 4 stories because it was getting unsafe. But originally, when it was built, it was a hotel. In the basement, there was a bar, right on Commencement Bay. So, the ships would come in, the sailors would go, hit the bar. The hotel was actually a brothel. I mean, I checked this all out with the newspapers, articles, and did a lot of checking later on. But
it's not that uncommon for a sea town around here. I mean, Everett,
Tacoma,
has plenty of those places too. Yeah.
Yeah. But I had employees work for me, right? And we used the basement for storage for 3 other stores. So our inventory was kept in the basement. It was very dimly lit. But, at one time, like I said, the basement was a bar. Well, my employees, again, I had an ex-Navy SEAL that worked for me at one point. I had a Navy Ranger, an ex-officer that worked for me at one point. Then I had a guy that was a chief bosun mate on numerous submarines. In fact, he was supposed to be on that one submarine that sunk, the USS Treasure or whatever that was. It sunk.
Right.
He was actually supposed to have been on there, but he was sick, so his friend, took his place. But I had these guys work for me, and being the boss, the general manager, I didn't do the grunt work. I did the paperwork and, did all the PR stuff and some sales, because I like selling. But these employees would come up to me and say, hey, something is strange. Things have moved in front of me. Or this weird things would happen, right? Now, all these people came and gone, so they didn't know each other. This was like over a 13, 14-year period. So, I'd be hearing the same people, the same stories from different people. And they get to the point where they would kind of refuse to go downstairs, to go bring up our inventory. They say, no, you go do it. Then I would get mad, and then I'd say, go find another job, That, and then finally I went down there one time, and I bluntly smelt lilac really strong, like what my grandmother used to wear from the old country. I mean, I was walking, and it went ice cold. I smelt lilac. I walked another foot. back not cold again and no smell. I walk back, no smell, not cold. Okay, I figured, oh, this is weird, because if anything, it'd be the sewer smell because it actually protruded under the main street, Pacific Avenue in Tacoma.
Right.
So, then, I didn't think anything of it, and then sometimes I would be in there late at night working in my office. I mean, the big bosses had offices up on the second floor, where my office was down on the retail floor. And I'd be there at night working on, repair, because I was a technician too. I repaired digital cameras back, when they first started coming out, cleaning the sensor.
Right.
So I want to be down there late at night where there was no dust movement, where I could clean the sensors. I'd be down there like 11 o'clock at night, and I'd hear footsteps going up the stairs. Now, the other side of our building, it was vacant. It's been vacant for years. The other side used to be the Bank of California. They were empty for years. No tenants, okay? Nobody upstairs because the hotel was long gone, except office space, right? For the business. I had the doors double locked because that's downtown Tacoma, So I'd have the deadbolt on the inside, so I know nobody came in. But I figured, well, one time, the first time it happened, I figured, well, somehow one of the owners came into the building,
Right.
somehow. So I went out there to greet him. There was nobody there. Then over a course of a couple months or a month or whatever, the footsteps started getting, instead of like one footstep, it sounded like multiple footsteps going up and down the stairs.
Right.
And then towards last, I actually heard muffled talking and going up and down the stairs. That really paranoid me big time. Where, like at 6 o'clock, I was the very first one to be virtually at the door to let the employees out for I could leave. Well, at one point towards the end, before I decided to quit, and by the way, the owner actually confessed to me that he didn't go down the basement unless he had somebody with him because he ran into things himself. Which he couldn't describe. But then I started, going through and pulling, records, like if anybody got killed. Well, there was like in the 1920s, a prostitute was cut up in little pieces in one of the rooms upstairs. Then there was a couple other prostitutes that got killed through the years. There was a shooting a couple times where people were killed in the bar in gunfights. So, that really opened my eyes up that there is things out there that, there's no explanation. Unless you ran into it yourself, somebody can tell you that story, and label you as a crackpot. I don't know.
I don't think that. I don't think that's a crackpot at all. It's a funny thing because have you ever noticed that a lot of times that places that say, they talk about hotel, the hotels are haunted a lot, and that, if you go to certain locations, they don't necessarily, tell you that this is a haunted room or whatever, because, they don't, now you can sell that as a feature, you can charge double for a haunted room.
Or triple, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But, 15 years ago, if you told people they were sleeping in a haunted room, they'd say, I'm going to stay somewhere else. Well, and it's interesting that those people would always come down and have the same experiences, and so the building itself, if you've got multiple experiences over years, it's only logical that something's going on. I had a friend who, again, it was interesting. There was a hotel in this little town in Northern Ireland called Carrickfergus, and it was across from the old castle that they had, and supposedly this lady had gotten murdered in one of these rooms. And so eventually, they kept it a secret for forever and a day because they didn't want anybody to know. But then it was on sort of some paranormal ghost show or something, and then everybody came to it. So I took my son in there, who was a big skeptic. He doesn't believe in anything, He just says, "Oh, Dad's getting past it," He doesn't know what's going on. And so, so I said to the receptionist lady, I said, "Can we just take a look in this room that's supposed to, be haunted?" and I didn't say anything. My son had never watched the show about where we're supposed to be. It wasn't the room itself that was supposed to be haunted. It was the bathroom, and so